Blog Talk Radio.
Tonight, on a very special episode of Salamone, our guests include Silky Smooth, OT Nyland, the senator from the great state of Funky, Brian Rovegno. I'm your host, Michael Salamone. Here we go.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. We've got another great panel for you this week. Joining me is great Denver State actor, one of the wittiest men I've ever known, and dear friend Owen Nyland. And also tonight, in his second appearance on our show, television executive, soul singer, and guy who gives me pep talks when I most need them, the also great Brian Rovegno. Gentlemen, my thanks to you for 2 decades of friendship and for being here tonight. Welcome.
Well, I thank you very much.
Good evening,
and one quick correction. I am actually Denver's 3rd worst actor. So I just want to make sure that we have my title correct.
I'm sorry, I haven't checked the dailies recently.
Yes, 3rd worst.
Is that a westward vote? Did people write in for that?
It's more of a consensus building thing, and there's this Facebook page for it where they rank us.
I love social media. Let's start our conversation tonight as we run down the top issues of the day with Urban Outfitters, who made a lot of press yesterday as they were forced to apologize for releasing a blood-soaked Kent State T-shirt, once again making Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young relevant. It was quite the controversy. People thought it was in bad taste. I wonder why.
Well, how did they apologize? Was it one of those apologies where we're sorry if anyone was offended, which isn't really an apology as much as a criticism saying that it's really your fault for being offended by our shitty actions?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I read, is they were like, oops, we trusted the designer.
Blame the designer.
Again,
well, it had to have been done on purpose, right? I mean, they did something like this so they could get a rise out of everyone, right? I mean, that it's almost so blatant that it's like obvious and borders on like just ridiculous, let alone offensive.
I think, at least in my old age, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I can't help but think that they thought it would be relevant with police brutality in Ferguson and all this being such an issue. It's like retro callback to this issue, and then it backfired on them, so they had to backtrack. But
I'm a big fan of their quote here I'm reading. Given our history of controversial issues, we understand how our sincerity may be questioned. And then, of course, in brackets it says, the spokesman said as he chuckled under his breath.
Well, my question to either one of you, OT, you're probably the more fashionable of the three of us, but really my question is Kent State still a reference? I mean, is that something even people get? I mean, obviously they did.
Most of the millennial generation gets their historical facts and figures from retailers such as Urban Outfitters. So I do compliment them on really keeping our new generation thoroughly up to date on things that might have happened years and years ago. So thank you, Urban Outfitters. You're really doing the Lord's work out there.
And hey, at least it's not like an image of that woman, that image that you see with Kent State. Not that it isn't a tragic image, but I mean, let's leave it alone. That woman, who was falling to her knees and crying over the body. It's horrible, but I'm glad they didn't use that, right?
Yeah, probably smart.
I can't wait until the Hinckley holding catcher in the Rye shirt. I'm hoping it's a series. Brian, you're well known for a closet full of ironic T-shirts. What's the most offensive T-shirt in your closet?
Well, the shirt that offended a very lovely little old woman, an abuela. I have a T-shirt that's a picture of the Last Supper, and underneath it says "Sausage Fest."
Now that's my kind of party.
Brian Revenue,
And I had
our
a
peer
little-
group's Bruce Valanche.
I have a little old woman come up to me and look at me, and she kind of wagged her finger in my face, and she says, "No, that's no good. No." And that was the only backlash I ever got.
Another big story this week that I'm still seeing backlash on Twitter about was the band U2. I guess they were found guilty for hacking into the cloud, but instead of liberating nude photos, they forced their new album onto iPhone users around the world, creating
I don't
much
necessarily
rage
know, was it U2 or was it Apple?
Yeah, it was a marketing partnership between the two. I keep seeing the joke over and over, made different ways, that this was the equivalent of getting an unsolicited dick pic from these guys.
I'm not an iTunes user. Did this just kind of appear in your iTunes if you were an iTunes user? Do I understand that correctly?
iPhone users, and not being an iPhone person, I don't know that it was.
I got
like
it, yeah.
a new
So what
app
happened
appeared
was
or what?
if you opened up your music app and went to your songs or your albums or what have you, it was there. And so it was kind of spooky. It was there that you were able to download it pretty much immediately. Like it didn't actually populate anything onto your phone, but it gave you the ability to, at the stroke of a button to bring it on. It's a fairly innocuous album. It's pretty much standard U2, the same stuff they've been putting out, for the better part of it, since the 90s actually. And
yeah.
But I think that the real issue is that nobody wants Apple to not even just recommend, force you to take an album that you may or may not want. It's kind of an odd decision to undertake to say,
Probably may not want.
Yeah,
well, especially after they just had issue with protecting people's privacy, and then all of a sudden they're intrusively putting media onto you. It's just a bit odd.
Indeed.
And you too have all banned, for the love of God. Nobody wants that anymore, right? Am I the last person that doesn't like U2 anymore? Thinks that they don't, Kings of Leon have taken over for what they do?
Kings of whom?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I don't listen to those newfangled bands. All I need is Boy, The War, and Under a Blood Red Sky, and I'm good.
There you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're a band that past, I'm going to say 1993, I think that was Europa. It's just it's like what Coldplay sounds to me. It's a formula, and all the songs just sound the same.
Cold who?
They're not new.
Cold what?
I don't know who these newfangled bands are.
I have consciously uncoupled from Coldplay.
Did you hear that, who's going after the Goop now? Martha Stewart.
Going after the what?
Gwyneth Paltrow calls her website and her lifestyle brand Goop. G-O-O.
Oh.
Which, doesn't that sound delicious? But yeah, apparently Martha Stewart's going after her now, which that's a fight that I'm really going to enjoy watching. Yeah, I guess Martha said something to the effect of, well, if she was a better actress, she wouldn't be attempting to be a lifestyle guru too.
Ouch.
Yes. Burn, Martha.
Oh, words. Another big story that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Olive Garden. So they tried this promotion for $100 all-you-can-eat for a week, right as a marketing agency leaked a report on the low quality of their food. Personally, my favorite story of the week, so I just at least wanted to mention it. But Owen, I'm going to start with you. Would you even ever eat in an Olive Garden?
I will indeed cop and admit to the fact that I have enjoyed the Olive Garden. A girl likes a good breadstick on occasion.
I just read an article that Business Insider just did this article about how the Olive Garden is losing money hand over fist. And they actually have a line in this article that says that they would save over $5 billion a year or something like that if they had better breadstick management, quote unquote.
I personally could benefit from better breadstick management myself. I've only eaten at Olive Garden a couple of times, and this is like high school years. But Brian, something tells me you're the devil's advocate in this group. Would you eat at Olive Garden?
Oh, you worked, Brian. You worked for the OG.
I indeed worked for the OG for a spell. Yes, I can sing you the birthday song, but I will save you the terribleness of it.
We don't have money for royalties, man.
Yeah, right. But I have worked at the Olive Garden. I have experienced it. Quite frankly, I would, after my experience working at the Olive Garden in Green Tree outside of Pittsburgh, I would eat there again. Yes, I've seen the sausage made, and I would eat there again. At least, but I haven't waited tables there in over 15 years. So.
Well, yeah, you're an adult now. But
yes, debatable.
Understood. Moving ahead or backwards, depending on your evolutionary standpoint, the 2015 Miss America pageant aired this past weekend. I personally stopped reading Miss America comic books when DC rebooted their entire universe, but I did see some clips online and on at midnight that had me cracking up. Like a woman's talent was she was a ventriloquist. They had all these crazy facts about the women as they paraded on, like she slapped a shark when she was 9 years old. So I'm curious. I know it's the age of Honey Boo Boo and RuPaul's Drag Race, but aren't traditional beauty pageants a little past their relevancy? I mean, personally, I'm not interested. I'd watch it if it was like Suicide Girls or something. But let's start with Brian, because you're a father of a daughter. Like, what's your feeling on things like pageants? Have you and your wife talked about these type of displays and how you'll educate your daughter?
Not at all. I don't think that we have had the conversation once. It hasn't really entered our radar. I think I can guarantee that my daughter would never want to be involved in anything like that. Now, that said, I don't think the relevance of these things really, I mean, it's almost like so irrelevant the question isn't even worth being asked. It's like, who cares what people think? Who cares? Miss America, what? Say somebody sing a song.
What I would rather see is the Mistress America, to have a bunch of Yankee, home records go up there, and that I think that would really pitch to the demographic, at least my demographic. I would eat that up.
You need to pitch that to TLC right away.
I was just going to say, that is like devilishly the most genius idea I think I've ever heard.
But no, for the Miss America pageant, I'm all for it. I think it's great. People, it's a scholarship opportunity, obviously. But I do want some sort of confirmation from the organizers that each and every one of them is a virgin. Because if not, it just blows the illusion for me personally. That they might have someone less than pure up on the Miss America stage.
The complete opposite of the Mistress of America.
Anything that was sponsored by the Donald at some point, that is pure Americana right there, and it needs to be not only preserved.
The big controversy today was the right wing was going after Miss New York, who won the crown, because she has done, I think maybe volunteer work, but she has been involved with Planned Parenthood. And of course, nothing upsets the right like people being smart about sex and health. But so I think Owen was on to something there. But we're about halfway through, so I'm going to call next topic.
All right.
The fall TV premieres are starting. They're premiering, and there's actually shows I'm interested in. As a comic book nerd, Constantine kind of excites me. And I can't wait to see how NBC messes it up. As a Doctor Who fan, I might even try watching the ill-titled Selfie because Karen Gillan's in it. But Brian, you're our TV expert. Tell us what to watch for these next couple of months.
All I have really heard about is this A to Z, which I know they've done this really big push on it this summer. This show A to Z. Have you heard of this with Kristen, Kristen Milotti. She was the mother in How I Met Your Mother.
She was the mom, yeah.
And
spoiler alert.
and then the guy. Oh, sorry.
All right, I've never actually watched an entire episode.
And then the guy in it is the guy from Mad Men, the Ben Feldman, the crazy guy who cut his nipple off in Mad Men. Spoiler alert. But this show has been pushed out.
That stuff doesn't happen on HGTV.
This show's been pushed out so much. It's on your on-demand. It's on your Comcast portal. It's all over the place this summer. The first episode was everywhere. It was kind of, I've never seen a major network. It's not going to be on NBC. I've never seen a major network push a show. It doesn't even premiere until October 2nd.
I saw an interview with Tom Papa in the web series In Bed with Joan Rivers, where he talks about the marriage rest and how heavily NBC pushed it out when he and Jerry Seinfeld kept being like, we weren't really ready for it to be a big deal. And he said, and this has kind of stuck with me, when a network throws everything they've got behind a show before it comes out, it's probably crap.
So the other crap one is going to be Madam Secretary on CBS, because that is everywhere with Téa Leoni, as the hard but, sensible, she's the Secretary of State, right? It's going to be paired up with The Good Wife because they're trying to, get that audience to stick around for another hour, and it looks ridiculous, I think.
Although it is CBS, so if it's past 8:30, they got to get to bed. Have you guys seen Grace Point?
No,
the new murder mystery.
Great Point.
That's the one with
Fox.
With David Tennant, the old, I want to call him what, the 11th Doctor?
Right, and this is based on a British series too that was really big called Broadchurch.
Oh, okay.
I watched Broadchurch, and it was brilliant. And I've been reading reviews that the remake doesn't carry the same emotional weight the whole way through. Even though they're trying to stick pretty close, they wanted to change it enough to be different, and I think they've lost some stuff there.
Apparently Nick Nolte's in it, so that's the gold star seal of approval right there. If you get the Nolte, he is all about it. And then the other show that I'm kind of interested in is Houdini. I think that looks fascinating with Adrian Brody.
I've actually seen Houdini, and it couldn't be more boring if it tried hard to be boring.
Something Fox has that I watched the pilot of because it was available on some online service I use is Red Band Society, and I think the actual premiere is this week. The premise was something I didn't think I would like. It's all about terminal kids in a hospital. I was riveted, emotional, and laughing the whole way through, so that would be my, oh, hey, this looks cool, non-comic book show that I'll throw out there.
Are you excited for Flash? Oh, I'm sorry, The Flash.
I don't know yet. I was a little trepidatious about Arrow, which Flash is a spin-off of, but now I'm hooked. It took me a few episodes to get there, probably because Green Arrow is one of my more beloved comic heroes for me. I think it's just gonna see how they WB this one up, whether I can go along with it or not. If it's more like Arrow than Smallville, which it looks like it could be, then I'm probably in there. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, how do you feel about Gotham then too?
Yeah, not so excited about Gotham, just because it's rewriting the mythos, which I can go along with a little bit to make it interesting, but to just kind of bam from scratch, I'm sure I'll check it out because I'm that nerd, but I'm withholding judgment at this point. The reviews from the nerd blogs and stuff actually are pretty favorable, and usually they're the hardest to please. So we'll see. Maybe they can pull it off.
Boys.
Of course, if it's any good, Fox will pull it.
Maybe they'll air the episodes out of order so it becomes confusing and then drops in the ratings so they can kill it.
So I actually got a little bit of listener mail, which excited me since the show's so new. And this person suggested that we need a game or a gimmick, like a top 10 list or a hashtag wars type thing. So based on a joke I made yesterday about nanny, nanny, na-na being like the way a kid first says F you, I want to play a rapid fire round with you guys. And let's see. I think I have some theme music for it. No. So this is how it works. I'll give a topic and call your name and give me the first response that comes to your head. This is like my version of the rapid fire round on McLaughlin Group. No pressure. Okay, so the NFL had a domestic violence and child abuse scandal this week. What's the next violent crime we can expect out of the NFL? I'm personally worried it might involve internet cat videos. But, next thing from the NFL.
The next violent thing from the NFL, I don't know. I think they're going to appoint Dick Cheney as the head of the NFL.
Replacing Chautauqua and Roger Goodell. Brian, what's the next violent scandal from the NFL?
The next violent scandal is going to be the beatdown of the person watching on the piss test because now they all want to smoke the weed.
As we just talked about, people were pissed about the U2 album forced on them this week. Brian, what's the worst album that could appear on your phone?
U2.
Owen, what's the worst album that could appear on your phone?
Me 3. Sorry, the Electric Light Orchestra. No, that's the next one they're going to cram down my throat. Just as relevant as U2.
I think it's a crime to force crappy music on anybody. That's why I don't like Pandora. Missouri, they weren't happy enough with their police being accused of not being able to handle the responsibility of firearms. So now they voted to arm their teachers as well. Is Missouri trying to out Florida? Owen, how could Missouri one-up Florida next?
Mandatory consumption of high fructose corn syrup.
Brian, how can Missouri out Florida?
It can change its name to Misery. I don't know.
Wrong. I think next up, Missouri will make all civic employees wear Urban Outfitters blood-soaked T-shirts of Mike Brown's football jersey. That was our joke to get out. Last round of Daddy Nanny Nana and back to fall TV. Reboots are all the rage. What classic TV franchise would you most like to see reincarnated? Brian.
F-Troop.
Owen.
Sanford and Son.
I kind of would like to see the Sanford and Son one.
I kind of would like to see that too. It was a much better answer.
Personally, I guess I'd like to see Touched by an Angel, but this time it's Touched by an Asshole. And instead of angels, it's NFL players, because football might as well be religion in this country. Anyhow. Finally, last topic. Owen, Brian, and I all live in Denver. This is actually the first show that we've had all Denver guests, and marijuana has been legal for recreational sale and use for nearly a year now. More legal than Amsterdam, more pot shops than Starbucks. Two of us don't really partake anymore. I won't point fingers here, but I do want to hear everybody's opinion on how the Colorado experiment is working thus far, but we don't have a lot of time, so try and keep your answers brief. Let's start with Owen.
I'm all for it. It's great revenue. They are saying, however, that the recreational revenue is not quite as high as the medical marijuana. But, I think it's on the whole a net good thing. It does stink, though. And I work right on the 16th Street Mall in downtown, and some days after work, it's like walking through a Deadhead show or, the park at the fish show. It's rough.
It is pungent. Brian, what's your take on year one?
Well, that's funny because that's exactly what I was going to talk about, is that I think the most overwhelming change that I can notice around town is the smell. There are definite neighborhoods that if you drive through them with your window down, it is like sticking your face in a big jar of buds. It's crazy how strong it is in some places. And I think that's more than anything has been the most overwhelming change. January, maybe a little bit into February, you saw the lines right outside the door of the shops after they turned recreational. But since then, it feels like, it's business as usual, quite frankly.
I think the underreported thing about Colorado being the first to open up for recreational marijuana the way that we have, I think a little more progressively than Washington, is that Colorado was also the first state to jail anybody for marijuana in the United States. So we kind of come full circle. But though I have concerns about living in a city full of stone zombies, I think it's been put into effect pretty well. And
I have noticed that people are worse drivers.
Yes.
That they're I think people get a little high behind the wheel and kind of forget what they're doing. We used to blame it on the Texans and the Californians for being terrible drivers in Denver. Now I'll just blame it on the potheads.
And I think that's real, and that's the one area the police have said that they're going to try and enforce. But anyhow, I think it's being done pretty well and will eventually be a model for the whole country. So that's our show this week. Big thanks to my great friends for joining me this week, Owen Nyland, Brian Ravenio. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Michael Salamone. You can visit michaelsalamone.com/podcast for archives of this show. And good night. Please be good to one another.